He walked away in search of fortune, turning his back on the woman who shaped his entire life. 2 years passed, and the man who once had nothing returned as a millionaire. But he froze the moment he reached the old farmland. His dark-skinned ex-wife was working in the field, with 3 little children who looked exactly like him. Yet one of them was not tied to him by blood. And the truth behind her compassion would shatter everything he thought he understood about loyalty, pride, and what family really means. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments what time it is and where you're watching from. Also, don't forget to strike that like and subscribe button. Daniel Stone had always treated love like a tool, something to burn through while chasing ambition. When he married Zuri, he was still a young man surviving on borrowed dreams and the strength of her patience. She kept their world standing. She planted and harvested, repaired clothes for neighbors, and reminded him, "One day your ideas will feed people just like this land feeds us." But when opportunity finally came calling, his heart shifted. City life tempted him. Money, contracts, bright lights. Everything she once encouraged became the excuse he used to claim she was slowing him down. Their final argument left scars. "You don't get business," he had screamed, storming out. "And you don't get love," she answered, her voice breaking. He left before dawn, forgetting the scent of the soil and the woman who had built his courage from scratch. He never imagined the sickness she felt that morning wasn't from crying, but from the early signs of pregnancy. Zuri refused to run after him. She had chased enough storms. When she discovered she was carrying his children, Daniel's assistant had already blocked her calls, and his lawyer mailed the divorce papers with cold instructions. No explanation, only signatures. Her hands trembled as she signed, whispering, "I won't plead for anyone to stay." 9 months later, in the tiny room where she had taken her first breath, she delivered twin girls, soft-skinned, pale-eyed, and undeniably Daniel's. She named them Hazel and Kira because they arrived side by side and mended her heart in the same breath. A few weeks later, while dropping vegetables at the town clinic, she heard a newborn's cry drifting through the hallway. Nurses whispered that the child's mother had not survived. No relatives listed, no name on the file. The tiny boy wrapped his hand around Zuri's finger and refused to let go. She acted without hesitation. "You belong with me now," she whispered. She named him Caleb. People in the village murmured among themselves, but Zuri never offered explanations. "Love doesn't require justification," she would say, returning to her land. Her days settled into a rhythm of soil, sweat, and small joys. 3 little ones crawling through the cornrows as she weeded, their laughter drowning out the rumors. 2 full years passed before Daniel came back. Wealth had made him successful, uneasy, and painfully alone. A land development deal brought him back to the countryside. He had purchased several plots for expansion. The documents listed a caretaker, a local woman named Zuri Banks. He didn't notice the familiar surname until the car eased past the worn fence and memory hit him like a blow. He stepped out, smoothing his spotless white shirt, eyes sweeping the field. Sunlight glinted across tall stalks. Someone knelt between the rows. Olive fabric, sunlit brown skin, a braid hanging low against her back. His heartbeat stumbled. He called out, "Excuse me, I'm searching for Zuri Banks." She lifted her head slowly. Time hadn't hardened her. It had shaped a quiet strength inside her that held for a moment. "You forgot to breathe." "Daniel," she said softly, not surprised. "I heard you're buying land you barely remember ever touching." You tried to laugh. "You could have reached out. You changed your number." "You blocked it," she answered, turning back to her plants. The calmness in her voice cut deeper than fury. He stepped nearer, irritation shielding his guilt. "So this is your life now? Playing farmer after everything?" Her hands continued moving. "Some of us don't need a paycheck to remind us how to stay human." "Still dramatic," he muttered. "Still full of pride," she replied. He looked around the clearing. Straight rows, a small wooden fence, the smell of warm earth filling the air. Then something pulled his attention. A small wooden crate near the fence. 3 tiny figures shifting inside it. He frowned. So you're running a daycare now? Zuri didn't lift her head. I'm raising children. He stepped nearer. The first girl looked up. Blue-gray eyes, the precise shade of his, staring straight through him. His grin vanished. The second child turned as well. The same features again, the same eyes. His heartbeat stumbled. He breathed, "No, that can't be real." The twins watched him quietly, their matching curls glowing in the light. Then a third child, darker, smaller, crawled between them and tugged at Zuri's apron. The boy's gaze held something else, soft, steady, searching. Daniel's voice broke. "Who are they?" Zuri finally looked at him. Her reply was calm, almost weary. "They're mine." He stared at her, then at the twins. You kept them from me?" "No," she said gently. "I just learned how to exist." He pointed at the boy. "And him? He doesn't even resemble us." Her face stayed still. "His mother passed alone at the clinic. No one came for him. I did." Silence fell. Only the breeze moved through the tall corn. Daniel's chest tightened. 2 faces shaped like his. One shaped by her compassion. For the first time since building his empire, he had no answers. He stepped back slowly, eyes wide, lips parted but silent. Fatherhood wasn't supposed to strike him like that, yet it did, sharp and deep. He stood frozen, 3 small lives weighing against years of pride. Every laugh he'd faked for meetings. Every contract he'd chased instead of love collapsed into that single instant. Zuri lifted the youngest girl and settled her on her hip. The little girl hid her face against her mother's shoulder, shy of the man staring at her as if he'd seen spirits. Daniel finally found his voice, barely above a whisper. "How old are they?" 18 months, she replied. He flinched. He did the math the same moment she did. "So I walked away," he muttered. "And you were expecting," she finished. "Yes, you left before either of us understood." Silence settled. The twins tugged at Zuri's dress, oblivious to the storm in the air. The boy sat chewing a strip of corn husk, happy in the dust. Daniel dragged a hand down his face. "I should have been here." Zuri didn't soften. "You weren't, and I stopped hoping." He glanced at the boy again. "So you kept him too?" His mother died giving birth. No relatives. No one to take him. A nurse begged for someone to sign the form. I signed. Daniel exhaled, shaking his head. "You never change. You see pain and carry it like it's yours. And you still act like kindness is a flaw," she replied. Her tone hit him harder than any argument. He swallowed what he wanted to say. "Do they know?" "No. They only know they're loved. That's enough for now." A truck rumbled up to the fence, one of Daniel's contractors. He turned sharply, barking instructions, using work as a place to pour his confusion. Zuri watched until the engine sound faded. "You can go, Daniel. The land belongs to your company. You've seen what you came for." But he stayed rooted. His hand tightened on the fence rail, knuckles pale. "I came to inspect property. I didn't realize my own heart was buried here." For the first time she looked unsure. The arrogance in him had drained away. What was left was a man with no defenses left to hide behind. He stepped toward the crate. The twins stared up at him, curious. One reached out and wrapped her small fingers around his. Her tiny hand wrapped around his, impossibly small yet steady. Something cracked open inside him. "I don't deserve this," he whispered. "No," Zuri replied. "But they do." He stayed kneeling there, dirt soaking into his clothes, the hum of the fields replacing words neither of them could say. When he finally rose, his voice shook. "I can't buy forgiveness, but let me earn a place in their lives." Zuri hesitated, her expression softening. "They don't need wealth, Daniel. They need something steady." "Then let me learn what that means." He spent the night in a nearby inn, pacing until sunrise. Every memory of her patience returned, The way she guided his hands when they planted together, how she laughed when the rain surprised them, the moment she told him, "Love isn't business, Daniel." He had turned that truth into a scar. He showed up again the next morning without being asked. The twins played near the fence and Caleb rode Bruno, the old farm dog, giggling. Zuri glanced up, guarded. "I came to work," he said, rolling up his sleeves. "The land deserves something from me." They worked side by side until noon, his soft hands blistering around the hoe. He didn't say much. She didn't either. But when one twin tripped, he caught her before she hit the ground. Zuri noticed, the instinct, the fear in his eyes, and something shifted quietly. Days blended into a week. Daniel canceled meetings. He learned how to balance a child on his hip, how to mix feed, how to laugh without pretense. One evening, Caleb crawled into his lap and fell asleep. Zuri found them on the porch, Daniel sitting under the warm light with guilt and peace written across his face. She joined him. "You can't erase what happened." "I'm not trying," he said. "I just don't want to lose what's here now." When the twins stirred awake, one reached for him and whispered, "Dad." Daniel went still. The word hit him like grace landing on an open wound. He lowered his forehead to the child's hair and murmured, "Yeah, Dad is right here." A few weeks later, signatures shifted again. Daniel placed the deed in Zuri's name and created a trust for all three kids. The city could wait. This couldn't. Under the same sun he once swore he'd never stand beneath again, Daniel worked shoulder to shoulder with the woman who had once shown him what love looked like with no strings attached. He never set out to be a father. He never meant to stay. But life tends to drag a man back to the soil where he first learned what growth truly meant. And this time he stayed until the light faded. Sometimes the wealthiest hearts belong to those who've tasted loss. Daniel believed success meant walking away from love. Instead, destiny led him back to the woman who kept caring and to the children who wore pieces of his face. What would you have done in that moment? Share your thoughts in the comments and remember to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories.